Boulevard Montmartre, Spring by Camille Pissarro. Imagine standing at a window on a crisp spring morning in Paris, looking down at one of the city's most bustling boulevards. The world below is alive, horses pulling carriages, pedestrians weaving between vendors, the trees just beginning to burst with fresh green leaves. That is the exact view that the painter Camille Pissarro captured in 1897, and today we are going to explore why this painting is not merely a beautiful snapshot of 19th century Paris, but one of the most emotionally intelligent works in the entire Impressionist tradition. Before we look at the painting itself, let's talk about the man who created it. Camille Pissarro was born in 1830 on the island of St. Thomas, in what is now the United States Virgin Islands. He was of Jewish Creole heritage, a background that would shape his outsider perspective on European society for the rest of his life. He moved to Paris as a young man, drawn irresistibly to the art world buzzing at the heart of the continent. Pissarro became a central and beloved figure of the Impressionist movement. In fact, he is the only artist to have exhibited work in all 8 of the landmark Impressionist exhibitions held between 1874 and 1886. He was a mentor to both Paul Gauguin and Paul Cézanne, and Cézanne himself famously called Pissarro humble and colossal. High praise from a man not known for giving it freely. By the 1890s, Pissarro was in his late 60s and suffering from a serious eye infection that made it painful to paint outdoors. So he began renting hotel rooms overlooking Paris's grand boulevards, setting up his easel at the window and observing urban life from above. This shift in perspective, from street level to elevated viewpoint, would define some of the most extraordinary work of his career. Boulevard Montmartre, Spring was painted in 1897 from the window of the Hôtel de Russie. The boulevard itself stretches from the lower foreground diagonally back into the painting's middle distance, where it disappears into a silvery atmospheric haze. On either side, Haussmann's elegant Parisian buildings line the street in tidy limestone rows, their mansard rooftops punctuated by chimney stacks. The boulevard is absolutely teeming with life. Horse-drawn carriages crowd the road, pedestrians move along the broad sidewalks, street lamps stand like sentinels at regular intervals, and lining the avenue on both sides are the trees, and this is key, those plane trees whose new spring leaves glow in a luminous, almost electric yellow-green. It is this color, more than anything else, that tells us the season and sets the emotional tone of the entire painting. Now let's look at how Pissarro actually painted this scene, because the technique is inseparable from the meaning. Like all Impressionist masters, Pissarro did not attempt to render the world in precise photographic detail. Instead, he used short, broken brushstrokes applied side by side, allowing the eye of the viewer to optically blend the colors together. Stand close to this painting in a museum, and the surface looks like a shimmering mosaic of dabs and flecks of paint. Step back, and suddenly, magically, the city assembles itself before you. The sky is extraordinary. Rather than a flat blue expanse, it is a complex weave of pearl white, lavender gray, and pale ochre. The kind of overcast spring sky that is not gloomy, but softly luminous, diffusing light evenly across everything below. This diffused light is crucial because it means there are no harsh shadows, no sharp edges anywhere in the composition. Everything blurs gently into everything else, giving the city an almost dreamlike continuity. Pissarro's elevated vantage point also allows him to compress foreground and background in a way that street-level painters could not. We see the boulevard as a living river flowing away from us, full of movement and yet utterly composed. But here is what I find most moving about this work. Pissarro painted this boulevard in multiple seasons: winter, fog, afternoon sun, and this spring version, all from the same window, all in the same year. He was doing something deeply philosophical. He was exploring how the same place, the same street, the same urban reality can feel entirely different depending on the quality of light and the season of the year. In this spring version, there is undeniable optimism. The yellow-green of the newly leafed trees radiates warmth and energy, contrasting with the cool stone grays of the architecture. The human figures below are tiny, almost indistinguishable from one another, but their presence is essential. They are the heartbeat of the city. Pissarro was a committed anarchist in his political beliefs, and there is something quietly democratic about this view. From his window, no single figure is more important than another. The banker and the flower seller are equally small, equally part of the great urban flow. Pissarro died in 1903, just 6 years after completing this series. He never fully recovered his eyesight, and yet these late boulevard paintings are some of the most visually sophisticated of his entire career. There is an irony in that, and perhaps a lesson. When the physical act of seeing became painful, Pissarro found a way to paint light and atmosphere more sensitively than ever before. Boulevard Montmartre, spring hangs today in the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg. If you ever have the chance to stand before it, you will understand immediately why Pissarro is sometimes called the father of Impressionism. Not because he invented the style, but because he embodied its deepest values: patience, humility, and an enduring love for the ordinary world, seen freshly, as if for the very first time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, please consider subscribing. There is much more to explore.